Alright, I recorded that little bit because was sitting there for 2 minutes just shooting into his fucking driver's cupola, and guess what? The dead driver kept on absorbing my 47mm shells. Critical hits do not work correctly in this fucking game. I'm sorry. They don't. He's AFK. And I think I'm going to have to go back to my base to get rid of that B2. BT7. Well, that's the end of this minor annoyance video. I'm sorry, but critical hits are a pain in the ass. Black hole tracks. The driver absorbing all the damage. The gunner absorbing all the damage. The engine absorbing all the damage. Any single component absorbing all the damage. When technically it penetrates the armor, it should do damage. Alright. This is Demonocalypse, and the topic at hand right now is French tanks, OP or UP. Well, I'd say for the first 5 tiers, they're underpowered. Take, for instance, this tank. Top penetration of, what was that? I can't even remember. 55, I think. It's in the 50s. I can't hurt many tanks above me. The tanks where I can hurt them is a critical hit spot, whereupon it's a black hole, whereupon I actually don't damage the goddamn thing. Which, as everyone knows, is utter and complete bullshit. That a system that needs to be fixed. Unfortunately, Wargaming will not fix it. So we just have to trudge on in our attempts to play a game that doesn't support us very much. But on matters of handling ability and general just driving, French tanks, the early ones, as far as I can tell, are fucking horrible. They're too damn slow. You can barely get over 20 kilometers with many of them, and for the most part, even if they say you can go over 20 kilometers, you can't get up to it. Unless you're going downhill, of course. And even then, the turning ability on these tanks is horrible. They're just not very good in any respect. I can't go very fast. I'm outsped by most heavy tanks. I remember on one match, I can't remember if I actually recorded it or no, I didn't record it. But anyways, it took me a minute to get to a building, and then as soon as I got past the building, guess what was on the other side? A KV. As you know, KVs are fairly slow at 33 kilometers an hour. I think at this point in the game, we should be able to get some tanks that aren't slow as freaking molasses. Come on. Wonderful. And then there's the fact that I'm seeing tanks consistently that I think I'm supposed to be able to hurt, maybe, but my gun just won't hurt them. And of course, I'm going to die here because the heavy tank went right past and offered me no support whatsoever. I mean, as soon as the B1 turret jammed, wonderful. Utter freaking bullshit. I mean, this is a fairly competent team, so even then, that B1 should not have gone past his allies and should have helped them instead. Unfortunately, he's a freaking moron. sad to say, but most of the French tanks are utter rubbish up to the time when they get the BDR G1B is probably the first medium or heavy tank line tank that is actually worth it. The B1, it's got okay armor, and I stress okay because it can be penetrated by everything else in its tier. Its gun is crap because it doesn't offer the penetration you require to actually hurt something. I mean, if they were to give us the 75 howitzer, I think it'd only be able to shoot high explosive, and with the nerf to high explosive, you're not going to be able to do anything with it. Man, who the hell? Oh, we need a new death cam system. Here we go. The MX-40. It has fairly ridiculous armor for its tier. However, balancing out the armor is the fact that it's incredibly slow. It does not handle very well, and it doesn't get a very good gun. The 75mm, the first actually fairly competent gun you get for the entire French line, has, I think it was around 80mm penetration. It's completely freaking horrible. And if you were, and I went toe to toe with one with the, well, I can't even remember what I was driving. The AMX, in my AMX 38, I went against one. I could not hurt it from any angle whatsoever. However, I could hurt the driver school bullet here. Problem being that it was a critical hit, critical hit, critical hit, critical hit. Why is the fuck is it not doing any damage situation? As you might have guessed, that was fairly freaking annoying. B1, you moron! A double track? Seriously? As you can see, even with careful aiming, the 47mm really doesn't do a lot. This guy's probably using gold ammo. No, wasn't even the one that shoot at him. Christ's freaking sake. And of course, doubling, I get jack shit for it. I know they're supposed to be old tanks. After all, everything in the French line, up to perhaps tier 4, perhaps tier 5 with the GDR, BDR G1B, is before World War II, if I remember correctly. Tank development for the French stopped in World War II because you know what happened. Now, the MX-40, I have no idea when it was made. I think it was made after World War II simply because of the overall design. Same with the ARL-44, I'm fairly certain, which means I have no freaking clue. This is all mostly assumptions and some crap I read on Wikipedia. Now, yeah, let's just check that penetration. Yeah, I got 45 average penetration. My other gun has 46 average penetration. I don't think the extra millimeter would do any freaking difference. Now, this is probably the first fairly useful gun you get. It's a 47mm SA-37. It's still fairly horrible with 66 average penetration for the armor piercing. 27.27 rounds a minute. And that's good. I think that's exactly the same turret as on the B1. Yep. Now, as you know, I've one-shot this tank a lot simply because some morons don't think it's a good idea to face a flat edge against me, my Hetzer, with a 10.5 using only high explosive. Okay, let's see what we got. Pulling this up, I'm tiered against an M2 medium tank. The M2 medium tank against me would probably win simply because it has a 75mm. Then again, I'm not sure exactly what DPM damage per minute is for the 75mm or this. I don't want to calculate it out. All that I know is that this gun is freaking pathetic and will bounce even with the so-called great 66mm penetration. You can tell I'm sarcastic, right? Hopefully you can, anyways. I am so slow. And that's the problem with the French tanks. Everything was made before World War II when they realized they'd have to go faster than a person walking. 22 kilometers an hour just doesn't cut it. At all. And we got some Spanish-speaking individuals. What do you know? The grade 66 was enough to hurt the side of a PZ-4. Amazing. I'm, of course, being sarcastic. I need to work on my sarcastic voice, and I'm freaking tired of all these freaking stops in the fucking road because they didn't design the map right. I mean, technically you'd slide sideways, right? And as you can see, 45 freaking damage just doesn't cut it. But we got the Ultra Dirt behind us. Aim down! And that's another problem with the tanks. Most of them cannot aim down or up, and it gets even worse as you go up, simply due to the fact that they added that stupid oscillating turret shit. And this guy's just pinging away an M2 medium tank without the good gun. Yeah, this is just sad. Very, very sad. Bing, bitch. Who the hell designed this system? Anyways, it looks like that KB died. That they really did fix the sound for the 75. It just sounds horrible, right? Oh, that's who was left. The M2 medium tank. Freaking A, that's pathetic. Got a Hetzer. He's got the upgraded gun, so he does fairly well once in a while. So I can't believe he's AFK the entire time. And of course the B1 POS. Fortunately, it's still got mad bounce in some areas for some reason. But with statistics what they are and a few other things, I'd say we're going to lose. While you're a moron. If cares no help ever. Okay, what you do in this situation is you charge at him as quickly as possible, try to swerve out of the way of the giant ass shell, and get behind him and shoot him in the ass. That's what you're supposed to try to do. That works too, I guess, but peekaboo if he decides to stay in one spot and just derp at ya. Amazing. Yep. He is completely fucking useless. Use armor piercing, you moron. Well, look who finally woke up. Well, we're screwed. Oh, man. Now, if only I had a good gun, wasn't as slow as molasses, and I had decent armor. Because I most likely wouldn't be dead then. Behind you, you morons. Behind you. I need a free-floating camera so I can see things with my eyes. Get in the bush. Use armor piercing, you fucking moron. Wow. This is just sad. So sad. Just because a moron doesn't know how to use armor piercing. 80 experience. That was utter bullshit. I'm sorry, it was. I can't compete with anything within my own tier. I'm only at, what, tier 3? And I can't compete with anything in my tier? That's how bad the French tanks are early on. They get better as you go up, just with any other branch. It's just that instead of a somewhat even, like, incline straight, these guys are kind of like, ding. You probably couldn't see that, so slightly smaller area. Ding. Everyone else is fairly linear. These guys are at a freaking vertical sign right here. And they'll reach the same spot, or it could be like this. But that's pretty much how I see them. They're not very good early on. They suck. Everything that I have already needs a slight boost in one respect or another. Preferably, they just need better guns. The B1, it needs a better gun, or once we get 75mm support for like 2 turrets and shit, I think that should help it fairly much. The MX-40, I think it should be a tier 3. I mean, with the armor it should be a tier 4, but the gun just doesn't have the penetration to be useful. So, that's the end of the relatively short review of all current low-level French tanks. I have not gotten high level because I'm not a premium user and I don't play a lot. Frankly, I just don't play enough to earn enough free experience and such to progress as fast as everyone else. So, this has been Demonocalypse. Thank you for watching.